Wells Fargo presents one of the surest ways to grow your money. A Wells Fargo CD account, where you can earn a 5.00% annual percentage yield on an 11-month term with a minimum opening deposit of $5,000. Visit a Wells Fargo branch or wellsfargo.com/CD rates to open a CD account and start growing your savings with us.
Wells Fargo Bank, N.A., member FDIC.
Hey, it's Storyworthy. Today on the show, master storyteller Frank Traynor talks about his dream to come to the United States.
My boss shows up to my office, opens the door just like with this look of complete defeat in his face and just goes, "Please tell me you have a passport with a tourist visa to enter the U.S. because I don't know who to ask anymore." So basically, I'm like their last resource. I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll go. So having a passport, an updated passport, like, is basically why they chose me. But again, this is a great chance for me to network and maybe get a job here. So I cannot fuck this up, which is a thing that I tend to do.
Today on the show, storyteller Frank Traynor talks about his dream to come to the U.S. Stay close.
Hey, it's Frank Traynor, and you're listening to Storyworthy.
Welcome to Storyworthy. My name is Christine Blackburn, and I'm coming to you from Los Angeles, California. Whether you're a longtime fan of the show of almost 13 years, or you're a new listener, welcome to Storyworthy. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed the story last week by Joe Coyle. Boy, I'll tell you, Joe Coyle, what an interesting person. You know, primarily on Storyworthy, I have comedians and sometimes storytellers, but Joe Coyle, he came out of left field. But his story is so interesting because he was George Clooney's stand-in for 9 feature films and also was George Clooney's stand-in on ER. So he just has this really interesting life that he led, like so close to Hollywood. But now he's back in Pennsylvania, and it's just a really interesting story. He also stood in for Ben Affleck and other stars. So go back, you guys. Listen to Joe Coyle last week talking about standing in for Clooney. But not today, because today I have on another really interesting person who I just met recently, and I don't know him well, but I do know he's very talented, and his name is Frank Traynor. And today he brings forth the topic, my dream to come to the USA. My dream to come to the USA. I know that, Frank, you're from Argentina, right?
Yes, I am. Yes, hello.
Okay,
How are
hi.
you?
You do have a great voice,
Thank
obviously. Americans love an accent. And you also have a great presence on stage. You look European, right? Because you wear like these slim-fitting velvet. Yeah, I said velvet. Navy blazers, and it's just, you got a really cool look about you and a cool way about you, and automatically we think he's European. That guy's European. But you're what do you say?
I think it's a common thing with Argentinians because there's a lot of us that look whiter than the average Latino that you meet in the US. In my particular case, I'm of Irish and Swiss descent, so I have the Irish name and the big nose and the blue eyes.
That's so interesting.
So
I don't think you have a big nose. Do you have a big nose?
Oh my God! I mean, nobody can see me right now, but like if you look me up, my nose is the reason why people always compare me to big-nosed famous people. Like I've been called Gene Wilder. I've been called so many. I usually just go with, like, when they say, "Hey, you look like Bradley Cooper," I'll take that one.
I'll take that one.
I'll take that one.
Does anybody?
You know what I mean? All the rest,
Did anybody say Adrian Brody?
Oh my God, no! That my nose is not that big. It's not that big. I mean, eventually it will. You know how like your nose and your ears are the only thing that keeps growing as you grow old.
Yeah.
So eventually I might be Adrian Brody. For now, I'm like I stopped at Gene Wilder.
It doesn't matter. You're very handsome. You have a great presence, and your stories are just terrific. You run.
Thanks.
I don't have to tell you, but I'm telling the audience, you run this really great storytelling show in Santa Monica called It's Funny Now. And I've actually been on the show. And do you remember the question I asked you about it?
No, at this point in my life, with so much weed and other, psychedelics in the past, my memory, like, I will forget we did this like a minute after we're done, and then when you publish it, I'm gonna be like, I did what? When did I record this? So no, I don't.
Okay, so a couple of months ago, I saw you with the Crow in Santa Monica, and I said, I'm so excited to do your show because you had asked me. Yep. I'm so excited to do It's Funny Now, and I said I have this really good story. It's really sad, but man, it's good. And you go, Christine, the title of the show is It's Funny Now. It's not We're Crying Now. So I had to pull a funnier story out.
I need it. Yeah. Now I remember that conversation, and it was like, oh my God, did she look at the name of the show? Does she know who I am anymore? Unfortunately, you brought it up. I thought you were going to do like the same story, but rewrite it in a funny way. I was like, oh, that's a really talented, smart,
how do you pull that
performer
off?
And writer.
Yeah. You do a lot of other storytelling shows around town, including you've won the Moth a couple of times. I've won the Moth a couple of times.
Yes.
4 times. You've won 4 times?
Yep.
4. I've won 3 times.
Nice.
You beat me. The Moth, I mean, come on. Just be honest. It's only you and me here. Nobody else is listening. Nobody else is listening. Isn't the Moth a little bit crazy? Come on.
Yes, it is. It is. It's weird. It's a very weird place because you never know who's going to come out of that tote bag with names. And also the judges are just like whoever shows up. Like the host always says like none of the judges knows anything. Like they're not pros, they're not performers or whatever. There's just like people that showed up and like are going to judge you because judging people is fun. And I've seen some days when like, do you know Margot Lightman?
Oh, yeah. She's the
Margot,
best.
I saw her like 2 slams ago, and she just destroyed. She was so funny. The story was so good. She should have been like 10, 10, 10, like 10s across the board. And then because she was so funny, one of the team's judges gave her a 7.2. And they said, because she was doing stand-up. I was like, no, dude, being funny is not doing stand-up.
She's not a stand-up, and she's not a comedian.
Not at all. She was just funny. Like, there weren't even jokes in the story. She was just funny the way she tells the story. You know how she is? And like the producer, Gary, got up and went to the microphone. Like he almost like screamed at them. But, when they give the scores, they cannot change them. So Margot didn't win, although she should have won. And then the lady that won, not to diss her or anything, but like she had a very low stakes story where like nothing happened. And like it was just boring.
I can't do it. I can't do the Moth anymore. I mean, I would like to say I could, but I can't because I've seen that happen at least a dozen times. Yeah. And it's not even slightly fair.
Yeah.
I know. It's really not. The judges have no credibility. The judges are just like, there's a table of 3 girls and the guy walks up and says, hey, do you guys want to be judges? And they're like, yeah, sure. And then they're the judges. Like
one time, I remember that one team of judges left during the intermission, and they had to be replaced with another group the second half, which means that the scores were completely different.
Yeah,
and even when I win, I'm like, did I win because I was actually good, or like maybe my stories about doing drugs with my wife are so funny that nobody cares, and somebody else should have won. Like it really haunts my insecurities. You know what I mean?
It's just unfortunate, and people put a lot of stake into the Moth, and I just don't give it any credence. Also, if there's 10 stories, 3 are good. 3.
Yeah.
The other 7. I mean, because like their whole thing is anybody can tell a story. But like my thing is, yeah, sure, anybody can tell a story, but only a few people tell them well. That's why I'm just not asking anybody to come on. Exactly. Are you kidding me?
I think anybody has a story, but not anybody can tell a story. You know what I mean?
Of course. It's not personal. But the other, and I'm going to get off the Moth because really, I've been on this tangent before. But the fee to get into the Moth, the ticket is like $17 or even $18.
No, it's 15 plus tax.
15 plus tax. So it's still $17, $18.
Well, but I have a trick.
What? What's your trick? Oh boy, trick.
I volunteer. So I get in for free.
Oh, yeah. You volunteer at the gig. I know what you mean. Yeah. No, I've done that for Gary as well. And the other producer, Carrie. I know what you mean. Over the years, and in fact, the Moth is one of the reasons why I started Storyworthy, to be honest. I started going to the Moth in 2008. I started going to the Moth. And I created this in 2010. And in part, it was because when people were done with their stories, I always had questions.
Yes.
And then they run off the stage. I'm chasing them to their car. Excuse me.
Lady, don't follow me to my car. I don't want any drugs. Well, but besides the point, I have questions. The drugs come later.
Anyway, you are a great storyteller, and I'm really glad you're here. And I'm looking forward to hearing your story about my dream to come to the United States. But before we get to Frank's story, I wanted to remind you guys that my other show, My Life in 3 Songs, is going strong. Now, it is a weekly show, but if I don't get the comic I want, I'm not just throwing stuff up, right? So far, there's been 20 guests on My Life in 3 Songs. And coming up, ready for this? I've got Patton Oswalt. I've got Lorraine Newman. I've got Rajiv Sadyal. I've got some other really fabulous talents coming up. So please check it out, mylifein3songs.com. It's completely free on Spotify. Just download the app and you are listening. All right, you guys, he's here right now, Frank Traynor. He is a storyteller, and he's also a producer and a musician and a writer. And I don't even know how long you've been in the U.S. I don't know that much about you, so I'm anxious to hear your story. And I know you have a great monthly storytelling show called It's Funny Now. And the website is itsfunnynowstorytelling.com. So head over there and check it out. And, of course, follow Frank on social media. For the most part, you're Frank_Traynor.
Yes.
Because if you go to just Frank Traynor, then you're going to a musician in Australia.
Oh my God, that's a whole different thing in my life. Because every time I upload my music to like any platforms, it gets mixed with him.
Oh.
And like, I don't play jazz. I wish I did, but I don't.
Oh, that's tough, man. That's tough. But Frank_Traynor, that's easy. I mean, I'm glad you got that,
Yeah.
All right, you guys, wherever you are, put your hands together for the very talented Frank Traynor.
All right. So the way that I frame this is that I have 3 things in common with Superman. And the first one is, of course, that I believe in the American way. And that's why for many, many years, since I was like 13, I wanted to move to the U.S., mostly to take a job away from an American, which is the Latin American way, as you all probably know. I always hate it when like conservatives say that immigrants are taking Americans' jobs, and like then liberals are like, no, they're not. We are. We definitely are. Nobody's creating jobs specifically for foreigners. We're here to take your job. So thank you to whoever is not having a job, because I have one right now. So I wanted to do that. And I've been working as a creative for advertising agencies for about 15 years now. And that was like my way in. Like I knew that there was a way for me to get here through, if somebody hired me in the US, but I needed to come here to network and maybe meet people that would hire me. So that opportunity came to me one day when still working back in Argentina. My boss walks into my office and asks me to come to Miami for about a week to work with the top creatives of all the agencies in the Latin American network to pitch and win this huge new client with an international bank, like lots of money for the company, not for me, of course. And of course, I see that as an opportunity. But here's the thing. They're not asking me because I'm the most talented creative they have. Basically, it's not like somebody went to my boss's office and told them like, hey, we need to send someone to represent our office in Miami with everyone else. And my bosses looked at each other and just went like, let's send Frank at the same time. And they high-fived and like sent an emotion. No. My boss shows up to my office, opens the door just like with this look of complete defeat in his face and just goes, please tell me you have a passport with a tourist visa to enter the U.S. because I don't know who to ask anymore. So basically, I'm like their last resource. I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll go. So having a passport, an updated passport, like is basically why they chose me. But again, this is a great chance for me to network and maybe get a job here. So I cannot fuck this up, which is a thing that I tend to do. We start working the following Monday, so I have to leave on a Sunday from Argentina. At the airport, I meet this guy that I'm traveling with. He's not in my team. He's like a different part of the company, so I don't really know him. I do know that besides both of us being advertising creatives, we are musicians, mostly because he wants to like bragging about his band being on MTV. And I'm like, sure, yeah, my band brought 15 people to our last concert, so that's the same. And then I tell him that when we get to Miami that night, I'm going to hang out with a friend that I have in Miami. And he tells me that he doesn't know anyone in Miami, and I invite him to tag along because I may not be on MTV, but at least I have friends.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So we get to Miami, we check in at the hotel, and we go to my friend's house to hang out. And before we're done, before leaving, I mean, I remember that my friend told me he has a Vespa scooter that I can borrow to move around Miami that week. And I've never ridden a motorcycle or a Vespa before in my life, but it's basically an overweight bicycle. So how hard could it be? You know what I mean? It's like, it's not even a real thing. It's a joke of a transportation medium. So we go to the garage, and before we leave the apartment, I put on the helmet as a joke, because who needs a helmet, right? To ride a Vespa in a garage. Again, it's a fat bicycle, so who cares? So we get to the garage, and I get on the Vespa, and my friend tells me, well, this is pretty simple. It's super easy. It's like driving a car with stick. Have you ever know how to do that? I'm like, do I know how to drive stick? What kind of question is that to ask? Oh, man, do I know how to drive stick? So I get on the Vespa, and I expect it to go nice and easy like a car, you know, when you let go of the clutch and you start accelerating a little bit at the same time, like nice. But in a second, I'm going at 1,000,000 miles per hour inside this tiny apartment building garage. And I'm going straight to this black BMW that I cannot afford whatsoever. And of course, I don't have insurance. I'm not even from this country. And I suddenly remember that my friend never told me how to stop the Vespa, which is a pretty crucial piece of information to give you when you're teaching somebody how to ride a motorcycle. But I'm like, so what do I do? And I just, you know what I mean? I just jump off the Vespa.
Oh, my God.
And I hit this concrete pillar in the garage, full speed ahead with my head that I likely the helmet as a joke. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here telling you this story. And then I fall to the ground really hard. I get up like in a lot of pain. I'm in a lot of pain, but I'm in complete denial too, because I'm a man and men are okay. So I just go like, I'm okay, which I'm not at all. And they drag me upstairs back to the apartment, and my friends are like telling me like, we got to go to the ER and whatnot. And then my coworker, the guy from MTV, is freaking out, and he's like, no, we cannot go to the ER. I'm like, why not? Because the doctors are going to call the cops because you smoked a little weed before riding the Vespa. And I'm like, why would they know that I smoked a little weed before riding the Vespa in a garage? And why would they? I mean, this guy is supposed to be more smarter than me. He's been on MTV. He's more successful than me. He should know better. Like, what is he saying? Like, I bet this is one of those guys that says things like, I don't need to smoke weed to have fun, which is fine by me. I don't need to have fun when I smoke weed. So I don't know why it's fine. But you know, I don't want to be proved wrong at the wrong time. Like maybe the cops do show up at the ER and like, you were right. Sorry. And I also know that he's afraid of us getting in trouble at work. You know what I mean? So okay, cool. Don't worry about it. So I come up with a lie, you know what I mean, to help us get out of trouble, which is the second thing that I have in common with Superman. I do not know how to lie. I can't lie. It's impossible for me. I don't know if you know from the comic books and the movies, Superman, one thing about him is that he can't lie, which is why his attempt at lying when he hides his identity is so lame. He's like, okay, I'm going to put on some glasses and change my hairdo and be a reporter, and then I'm going to harass a coworker into being my wife. It's so lame. Like the lie that I come up with right there and then on the spot, and I tell my coworker, the MTV guy, I'm like, okay, cool, don't worry about it. So tomorrow you're going to have to go to work, and you're going to tell them that you were not with me. Everyone knows that we're not friends. We don't know each other, so you're not with me. Don't worry about it. I was with my friend on our own, and we were riding the Vespa, and my friend was, driving it, and I was sitting behind, grabbing for my life from him. And then we were going a little fast. Yeah, we're going a little fast, and we crossed a speed bump. We crossed a speed bump, and I fell backwards. And tomorrow, when the 2 puffs of weed were off, I'm going to go to the hospital, and then I'm going to go to work. You just go to work and tell them all that. And he agrees to that stupid lie. And then we get in a taxi. We go back to the hotel. And when we get to the hotel, he helps me get to my room because I can barely walk. And then he sits me on my bed. And again, this is a man that I met that morning for the first time in my life. But before he leaves my room, there's one more thing that I need from him. So I go, can you help me take off my pants? I can't do it on my own. I'm in a lot of pain. And as he reluctantly starts taking off my pants, I just lean in and I go, well, we're going to have to lie about this too now, right, I guess? He didn't fight at all. He just took off my pants and left. So then the next morning I wake up and I get to the hospital however I can in a taxi. And that's when I find out that I broke my collarbone, 2 ribs, and the head of the femur where it connects to the hip. because clearly the Man of Steel is not the third thing that I have in common with Superman.
Oh my
and
gosh.
then I learned why the U.S. has the opioid crisis that it has, because the doctor gives me these amazing painkillers. I don't even remember the name. That's how good they were. They give me the energy and the strength to get up every morning, walk the 7 blocks between the hotel and the office, work for 8 hours straight, keep up the lie about the accident, network to maybe try to get a job in the U.S. and finally move here and have my dream come true, and then walk the 7 blocks back to the hotel, get a slice of pizza, and then plummet on the bed, only to get up the next morning and do the same thing every day for the rest of the week. Like back in my country, that wouldn't have happened. Back in my country, you know what I would have gotten? Free healthcare. That's what I would have gotten, free healthcare. So it's different too. But it worked, and we ended up winning the account. And my boss is back home, got a call saying that I did a great job. I mean, we did a great job, MTV too, but that's what happened. And then I go back to Argentina, and I have to keep up the lie with my bosses back home. And they start like my bosses back home are feeling suspicious, but I have to keep up the lie. And then they ask me things like, so you fell backwards from the motorcycle, but you hurt the side of like the right side. Like, how that? Like, right? I'm like, oh, well, I'm like a cat that's also a ninja, like midair, just turn to the side to protect my body. And it's like nobody's buying it, but like they stop asking questions. So I'm like, cool. I got, that's it. They bought it. That's it. And then like, that's when I get arrogant about that. Like, I'm so good. I know how to lie. I'm going to get a job in the US because I did such a good job and like, blah, blah, blah. And then a couple of weeks later, one of my teammates, just like tired of my arrogance, just sits me down and goes, just shut the fuck up. He goes, dude, everyone knows what happened. Nobody bought it. You know why? Because the MTV guy, after he left you in your room, he went back to his room and he called the VP and he told him all the truth about your accident. You're lucky to be fired, but do say goodbye to getting a job in the US with those people now. And he was right. MTV sold me out. You know what I mean? Like, I thought that taking off my pants built an unbreakable bond between us, but I guess I was wrong and I didn't get a job there then in the US. But a couple of years later, one of my good friends who was working here in Los Angeles for an ad agency recommended me for a job where he worked, and I was hired because, again, I may not be on MTV, but at least I have friends, and that's what matters. And the visa that they gave me when I moved here, it was the O1 visa. That's a talent visa that they give to artists, and the legal definition of that visa is alien with extraordinary abilities. And that is the third thing that I have in common with Superman.
You have extraordinary abilities. Yeah, right.
And that's when I moved.
And then that's when you moved to LA.
That's it.
And you met your wife here or there?
No, we met in Argentina many years ago. She's the sister of one of my bandmates, because that's usually how I meet my girlfriends. They are related to my bandmates.
Well, sure, yeah. And so then did she want to come too?
Yeah. Like when we met, one of the things that we had in common was that we both wanted to leave Argentina like ASAP.
And why is that?
It's funny because one day I was showering and she walks in the bathroom and she's like, you know what I've been thinking? And I think that I don't want to move away from Argentina because I'm going to miss my family and my friends and all that. And I was like, cool. I've been dreaming about this for like 25 years. So I'm just going to go. She got really mad at me. She was hoping I'd be like more like, oh my God, no, I'm staying with you. I love you. But I was like, no, I'm moving anyway.
Yeah.
This was even before that I got any offers or anything. It was like when we were planning.
That was like your priority. You knew that you wanted to be here.
Yeah. And then she was like, yeah, you know what? You're right. Yeah, let's just go.
Yeah. What happened to the BMW? Did you hit it at all, or where did that where did that Vespa slide out? Where did it hit?
This is something that I thought about years later, because at the time with all the pain and like the fear about my job and all that, and like my coworker just freaking out was driving me nuts. I do know now that the Vespa like slid like under the BMW, sort of. It did hit it. And something that I don't usually tell in the story because it doesn't really add much is that when we are, like, my friends are dragging me to the elevator to go back to their apartment, a neighbor comes out to get like his car. And he's like, did you guys just hit that BMW? And like, my friend's like, fuck. But it's like, yeah, no, don't, no. And then, like, we just ignore the guy. And now I also know that probably my friend had to pay with whatever, maybe his insurance. Like, I never really asked what happened with that. And my friend eventually, oh my God, I maybe shouldn't say this, but my friend eventually had a mental breakdown and like bad things happened to him. So I never really talked to him again.
Because
so
you broke his Vespa, he broke down.
No, years
him,
later.
Okay,
no,
wait a
life,
second.
life,
Frank
basically.
Traynor, you made a man go nuts because you broke his Vespa. Just say that. Just explain that.
That's what I do when I go to other countries to work. I just destroy things.
Okay, next
No,
question.
I never really knew what happened. We never really talked again after a couple of years. And like by the time that I came to my senses, and I was like, wait, what happened to the Vespa? Like he never told me like to pay him back or anything. But I'm pretty sure something massive happened. Again, at the time with work and being in pain and all that, I didn't think about it, and they never told me anything. So I just went the Argentinian way and never asked about it.
Yeah. So when you go to the hospital the next day, I mean, did you have to pay a hospital bill? Did you pay a hospital bill?
Here's the thing. As I was saying, in Argentina, we have free healthcare. So like I've never paid in my life for anything at all.
Right.
So I didn't really knew how things worked here, but I did have traveler's insurance that my job paid for. And a couple of months after I went back home to Argentina, I got an email from the hospital's billing department asking me to pay them like between $4,000 to $7,000. I forget how much it was exactly, but it was a lot of money for me at the time.
Sure.
I mean, even now, it's a lot of money.
It is, yeah.
And I was like, but I had traveler's insurance, which covers 100%. So I started emailing them, back and forth about this, and they're insisting that I pay them. And then I get in touch with Travel Assist, I think it's the name, like the one with the bucket of paint. I don't know which one. It's like the one everyone uses. And they basically tell me that the hospital should have dealt with them and not with me. That's like I don't even know if it's illegal, but it's not how it works. They deal with them, and then they were going to pay them. Like it's a matter between them. So I just stopped responding to emails. But that was like my first time in front of Americans' healthcare issues with like they basically just did a couple of x-rays and gave me a bottle of pills. That's all they did. And they wanted to charge me again, it was like $4,000 or $7,000. It was like a lot of money to me. Again, especially being used to never paying a cent in my life.
Right. But what do they do for those injuries? A collarbone and ribs. First of all, you needed the x-rays. So you got that out of it. Because if you didn't have that, you wouldn't have known the other things. So, but what do they do? Do they wrap your chest or do they try to compress something?
Nothing. They gave me a thing to keep my arm, still without moving. And that was about it. Like they didn't even tell me to stay in bed or anything. I just walked. Like all that came when I went back to Argentina, and doctors in Argentina told me you should have stayed in bed for about a month at least.
Well, hang on.
And in the US, they told me, here are these pills, go to work.
Was your English as good as it is now then?
Yeah.
And so the pills
I had already lived here for a while before that, so it wasn't my first time here.
What were the pills they gave you, like Vicodin? I mean, was it something strong?
Again, we don't have painkillers in Argentina. Like, that's not how we deal with things. So I don't know painkillers. I'm assuming it was something. And the bottle didn't really say anything. So it was probably some
Advil or something.
They were really strong. Like, honestly, I had all those things broken, and I walked every day to work, every day back and forth. And I worked all day. And I remember now, like, I feeling nothing. I was like, these are good.
Yeah, well, okay, so wait a second. There's so many things. In Argentina, you're telling me they don't have Demerol or morphine? I mean, what?
Yeah, they do, but like they don't give you that when you have something like that.
I see.
Like they just tell you to stay in bed and and like, you know what I mean? Like
Percocet, or did they give you the strong drugs though?
Here, they gave me something really strong. Again, I don't know what it was because I just took it without asking because I like drugs, I guess.
No. But what I'm trying to get at is, are you saying you'd rather be in Argentina and have this accident because it's medically free?
Oh, my God, yeah. Healthcare, oh, my God, that is such a thing.
But
no, because I would have just been in bed. You know what I mean?
You wouldn't have worked.
Here, they told me to go to work.
Well, you were on a work trip. But you were
Yeah, I was. I mean, and luckily they did that, because if they told me to stay in bed and I told my bosses, I'm going to have to stay in bed and not do the job that you sent me to do, like the results would have been really bad. So
that's right.
Thank you for the bad healthcare system in the U.S.
But I'm just saying, if you lived in the U.S. and you weren't on a work project, you probably would have stayed in bed. I mean, I'm just saying, it's not like Americans are complete idiots.
If I already was here,
We're not getting in accidents and then working in the morning for the most part. For the most part, anyway.
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah, wow. What a crazy experience. I was in Bermuda one time with a boyfriend, and same thing. We get the Vespa, and now we've got the Vespa, and I'm on the back, and he starts it up, and we're right in front of this little mart, this little store, this little mart or whatever. And he starts it up, and exactly, we went right up the wall of the store, and I fell off the back, and my knees were torn up. Like, the whole vacation, I had, like, torn up, bloody knees, and it was scary as shit.
Yeah, it is. Nobody tells you that about Vespas. They seem so like harmless. Did you see the last season of White Lotus?
Yeah, of course.
Did you see that episode when Jennifer Coolidge and the guy from Napoleon Dynamite go on a Vespa ride? Like, it's their first time too. And I'm like,
get out of here.
Bullshit.
Bullshit. She was sitting on the back of the Vespa, like with her legs across, like she saddle on a horse. Give me a break.
Yeah, that
and she has this long dress on that's going to get caught in the spokes. Like, no. And you know that was a body double anyway, because Jennifer Coolidge is not going to get on a motorcycle with no helmet, tooling around Italy.
Yeah, and I have really bad PTSD now with anything that has two wheels and some sort of engine or motor. Like, I bought an electric bike here now, and like the first couple of days when I was riding it, I was terrified of it. Like, and again, it was like 20 miles an hour. Like, it's not that bad, but like when I first got it, I was like terrified, because like I cannot get on a motorcycle anymore. And like, if my children in the future someday want to buy a motorcycle, I'm going to be one of those that's, no, motorcycles are death. It's like, I'm just terrified of them now. I can't.
Wow.
I really can't.
But you do have, what are you riding around on now?
An e-bike, an electric bike.
So you do have an e-bike, right? So on those, you pedal, and then you can also let it coast out. But and you wear a helmet.
Yeah.
Good. And do you live over in Santa Monica or somewhere?
No, I live in Redondo.
Oh, you live in Redondo. Well, still, they have, the streets there are quite slow. There's almost a stop sign at every block. So it's not like you're not going to pick up too. It seems like a safer thing, and you might fall over, but I don't think it's not like
literally the first time that we got them, I get my kids on the kiddie seats behind me, and like we get on, and the second we get out of our garage, I fall.
Oh my God!
My children were traumatized again. Yeah, I should just drive cars, I guess. It was only the first time, but like my daughter was traumatized. She wouldn't get back on it for a couple of weeks. She was like, "No, Dad, we're gonna fall." Yeah, it's a thing with two wheels.
I didn't even know you had kids.
Yeah,
how old are they?
My daughter is 6 and my son is 2.
Oh my gosh, those are the best ages ever. That is so cute.
I hope.
Isn't it fun? It's fun,
right? It is fun. My daughter is, it's such a stereotype, because my daughter is just like this peaceful, beautiful girl. Like, she's like the sweetest girl. And then my son is just like the devil. He's like, he has so much energy and so much.
That's because he's 2.
And he's also like a boy's boy. He's like, he cries over everything, but then when he's happy, he's like the happiest boy. Like, my son is like making me realize that, how like men say that women are too emotional, they shouldn't be doing like big things because women are men. Those are men, and my son is like the example of that. Like, my son's like either the happiest kid, like he's just like, or he's like cries at the top of his lungs for anything, and it's like such a nightmare. But he's, you know what I mean? But he's too old.
It changes. The thing is, when you have children, and I have one child, 16 now, but when you have kids, it's like the good news is every moment passes. Like, they change so quickly. But the bad news is that also every moment passes. So like, when you end up taking away the car seat, that's it. You're not going to have another car seat. Like, you move on from the strollers are gone. The car seat is gone. And then, and the other thing, I told somebody this recently, like, I was the room parent, or the volunteer parent for everything my kid did.
Yeah.
All the way kinder, all the way to through
nice.
8th grade. Okay, then my kid starts 9th grade, right? Now we're at the end of 10th grade. I've never been in their school. It just...
But
I've
why?
never been in her high.
Because you
I've
don't
never
want?
been in their high school because I don't need to go into high school. What
Yeah,
am I going in there for?
Well,
I know, but it's just I'm saying when it's over, it's over. This whole like being a room parent.
I think it depends because my mom was that too, and she was so involved that even in high school she was at my school all the time, which wasn't really good for me. But it did get me out of trouble once. So I'm in class and this guy is driving me nuts and I have anger issues, especially when I was a teenager. So I just get up and I just throw everything off his desk and I basically just tip his desk and I throw him to the floor. And again, I was a small kid. I was bullied all the time. So this was just me being very rageful because this guy's driving me nuts. And the teacher just goes crazy and like he wants to punish me and get me like suspended. And like he's going, because in the middle of the class, I just got up and like destroyed this guy's desk. And the good news is that my mom was working with this teacher to do some whatever thing for the school. And my mom had paid for whatever they were doing out of her pocket. And this guy from the school was supposed to pay her back with school money. And he never did. And for a couple of weeks, every time that I asked him, hey, where's my mom money? The guy would just run away from me. So he asked for this, punishment for me. And the class goes on. And then he walks by me. And I'm just quiet and then just whisper, like between my teeth, I just go, when are you going to pay back my mom, you piece of shit? And the guy immediately goes, you know what? I'm going to remove your punishment for now, but we'll see you next time. He never paid my mom back, but I was out of trouble.
Unbelievable. That is so funny.
So maybe get more involved. Maybe you'll get your kid out of trouble.
That's hilarious. Well, maybe it's just my kid's school. They go to this, like it's kind of it's an art school. Anyway, No parents, man. I mean, I can go to the performances, but I guess what I'm saying is just that as you grow with your children and they're 2 and 6 and then they're 3 and 7 and then next thing you know, it's their friends and you're out of there, man. It's so funny how quickly you get out of the picture when they, but that's our job. Obviously, we're supposed to raise them to leave.
Yeah.
We want them to leave. We want them to be independent.
Oh my God. Yeah. Get out of my house. I mean, grow up and get out. That's why, even though we have 3 cats, I'm very much in favor of people not having pets. And I'm a huge advocate of telling people not to have pets because pets are children that will never grow up. I will never be independent. They're like having a baby forever. And the sad part is that then your baby dies. You know what I mean? Yeah. So no pets. Don't get involved with pets is my...
Well, it's true. I tell people, you think having a dog is easy, but you have to pick up that dog's poop every day they're alive for 15 years.
Yes.
With a kid, you only have to touch their poop for 4 years.
Yes, exactly. 4 years. I mean... My daughter quit diapers at 2 and 3 months, which means that my son will be that in 1 month. And I'm already like, dude, you have 1 more month. You have your sister to live up to. And my son is not showing any signs.
No, boys are not interested.
I gave up the pacifier when I was 4 and the bottle when I was 7. So I don't know when the diaper went off. Probably I should have never quit diapers, but...
Do you put a little potty chair in front of the TV so they can sit there while they're watching their show?
Have we tried? Do you know Potty Monkey?
No.
It's a really cheap, flash animation cartoon on YouTube to help kids, go poop. And it's like this super cheesy, hey, Potty Monkey, we're going to go poop now. Oh, yes, Dad. And then you hear the little monkey going... And it's why are we watching this? And my son just loves it, but will not go. He just wants to watch monkey.
Gosh. There's a book by P.D. Eastman. I think his name was P.T. Eastman. It's called Go Dog Go. And I remember changing the words to poop dog poop. And then I changed them in the book. And my daughter thought that was crazy that I wrote in a book, And then we would read poop dog poop. And
so how many do you have? Wait.
Just one.
Okay. Yeah. I think it was two.
Just one. No, just one. They're in 10th grade, but they're non-binary, so we say they, that sometimes gives the connotation that there's... I know. 5 children.
Yes.
I don't have 5, just the one. Anyway, this has been so great.
It's been, thank you so much. So much fun.
Really, what a wonderful story. And I'm just really happy to know you, to meet you, and
Same.
to do shows with you. And you were great on Story Smash when you did Story Smash.
Thank you.
That was fabulous. You were so entertaining. Oh, my gosh. All right, you guys, we got to go. But I wanted to remind you to check out StoryworthyPodcast.com, and you'll find everything there. And also follow Storyworthy on social media at Storyworthy. And please check out My Life in 3 Songs. Follow it for free on Spotify. It's really, really worth it. I'm telling you. All right, you guys, one more time on behalf of the very talented Frank Traynor, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. This was a lot of fun.
My name is Christine Blackburn, saying, make it a story-worthy week.
Thanks for joining us on the Storyworthy Podcast. We'll be back next week with all new stories. Subscribe to Storyworthy on iTunes and visit the Storyworthy website at StoryworthyPodcast.com.
Hello, saver. Whether you're saving for that trip to the tropics or saving for an emergency, now is the time to take advantage of Wells Fargo's savings options. Wells Fargo offers savings accounts that can help you save towards your goals. So, what are you saving for? Visit a Wells Fargo branch or wellsfargo.com/save to open a savings account today.
Wells Fargo Bank, N.A., member FDIC.